Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Welcome to this video. And in this video, we are going to be rebuilding this Poulan Predator. All Poulan chainsaws are pretty much the same, so it's not going to be anything different from like a Poulan Pro or whatever Poulan chainsaw you have. We're just specifically going to be doing this one today, and I'm going to be doing a full rebuild. This is part one. We're going to do 3 parts of this video, so here we go. Alright everybody, so you can see you may not be able to see, but I've already tried to start this thing. Kind of pretty obvious by the looks of it, it does not start. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to, like I said, full rebuild. I'm just going to do this as I'm talking, by the way. We have just one screw here and one screw here and one screw here that we're going to take out real quick. I'm going to do that as I'm talking. So this chainsaw has been sitting for probably no less than 5 years or so. So it's just been sitting. Hasn't been ran in probably either 5 or 6 years. And so far it looks in pretty good condition. So now that you have this off, this gives you access to pretty much 90% of the engine here. So air filter's in pretty good condition here. So what we're going to start with, the first thing you're going to want to do is take your spark plug boot off just like that. And you're going to want to kind of look in there and inspect and make sure everything looks good in there. Pretty nice looking spark plug for being sitting for that long. I do not have the correct spark wrench for this particular size spark plug. I've already checked. So I'm just going to be using a wrench like that today for this part. Just like that, pretty simple. Take it out and let's see how this baby looks on the other side of this. That's pretty good condition for sitting for that long of a period of time. All right, now that we've got that out, that was our first step, okay? Now, our next step is going to be just tipping this thing on its side real quick, and we are going to, just for safety reasons, take off our bar and chain. So first thing we're going to need is let's see what size this is. I was right the first time. Look at that. 14 millimeter socket. And we are going to, there's a couple of bolts here. They're both the same size.
Right here, by the way, here's a chain tensioner right there. So, they're very tight on this one in particular. Likely the person that had it before over-tightened them, if I had to guess, because these are not loose bolts. So now we're going to, that's one thing too, make sure you organize your parts over here. Don't know if you can see on the camera, but I am keeping them very organized over here off camera for a reason that it is very easy to lose parts, especially when right now, as you probably saw earlier, I have a couple chainsaws taken apart. So it's very easy to mix those parts up and lose different parts from them.
So here we go. Now, piece should just come right out, which it did. All right, so now you're gonna have to be careful with this part. You do not want to pop any of these springs out. It's very hard to get back in once you pop them out. So now I'm just going to slide that all the way back in. Gotta just shimmy the chain out of there. First I'm gonna take it off the bar, and I'm going to take off my bar. Okay, there's the bar. I'm just gonna set that right there for now. And chain, just kind of gotta shimmy it off of there just like that. All right, now we're working safely. And as you can see, this bad boy is not clean. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to do a quick blow off and a little bit of a brush off of this kind of entire thing. Because like I said, there's not a spot on this chainsaw that does not have dirt. So I will resume the video once I've done that. All right, everybody, so as you may be able to tell, this sucker is not clean. You can tell probably by the workbench. And, kind of by, this is after I've cleaned myself off. Kind of by my arms there. All right, so now that we've got that off, we are safe to start on the actual engine here. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna check for is compression. And the way you do that is I have a flashlight right here. Just gonna shine it down into that combustion chamber right there. You may not be able to see my angle here, but I have to get this at the right angle. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna give this bad boy a couple pulls, and you should see it coming up and down. All right, just like that. Okay, I'm gonna give it a couple pulls just to make sure. And just see as you pull it faster, that comes up and down faster and faster. And what you're going to want to look for in there is any scoring. So any sort of scratches, excess carbon buildup. And like I said, we're going to be taking this whole thing apart, so we'll be able to tell. But just to start, because that is, that might be one of the main reasons that this thing is not starting. So just kind of depends on the chainsaw. So don't see any of that going on in there, but I still can't see the sides, and that's another thing that definitely matters a lot. So I'm going to put that down for a second. Now our next thing that we're going to deal with is we are going to try to get off this carburetor. And the way that we're going to do that is you're going to need a 5/16 socket. You can see here I've already taken one bolt out. Sorry for not filming that. But the same thing, just make sure you have it on loosen and not tighten.
Right on in there, and just top it off just like that, and right about now it should be ready to be hand-screwed. Yes, it is. And like I said, guys, make sure you are organizing your parts. This will save you 90% of the headache that you will get whenever taking apart engines, is organizing your parts. I've made that mistake a couple times, and I've never made it again, because I've learned my lesson. So, always organize your parts. Let's see if I can get this thing off. Gets really tough right here for some reason. Dang. See, the pliers aren't even getting it. It wants to go back in there. I'm trying to take it out. You know what? That's working a little better. Actually feels a little hard with this thing, so it's obviously pretty hard screw to get out. Yeah, I got it wrong side. Just like that. I think you have it out or on this side. Yep, you're out. Okay.
So I have these two bolts up here with my chain, my bar and chain bolts. All right, so now you should be able to take this whole thing off. All right, now like I said, organize your parts. I'm gonna put this right up here. All right, so first problem right off. Look at this and tell me what the first problem is here. Let me get the, actually first I'm gonna show you. You have your choke right here. You're gonna have to take that off. All you have to do that is just take it off of there. Pull it out a little bit. And just kind of push it off of there. Or if you have pliers, you can come in here and squeeze it to get it off. And it should eventually pop right off. Just like that. All right, organize your parts. I'm gonna say that a lot. You're gonna notice that about me. I do say organize your parts a lot. All right, so next part is just getting your throttle line off, which is just a metal rod on this one. So to do that, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to engage the throttle right here. And it should be able to pop out there. But first, I'm gonna see if it makes it easier if I just take it off with these screws. Man, there's already so many problems with this thing. All right, so now you got all the lines off. All right, first problem. There's no fuel line hooked up here. There's a random fuel line sitting right here, but it is not hooked up. So, next problem, gasket is pretty much trashed. Next problem, this fuel line could snap at any minute. So that's what I'm gonna say, is that most of your problems whenever it comes to these things is going to be in the carb. It's just, that's the way it is. I don't know why, that's just the way it is going to be. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take off all of the fuel lines on this thing, which there is only one, because there is another dangling fuel line in there that looks like it goes to the other one that is empty. So we're gonna take all of these off. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to start disassembling the carburetor. But before I do that, I'm just gonna take this chainsaw all together. Just put that on the floor there. And now we're going to start disassembling this thing. Alright guys, the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, which you would be surprised how big of a size you're going to need. It's not a huge size that you're going to need, but it's not going to be a small, microscopic like you would expect for a carburetor. I think I'm out. Yes, I'm out. Alright, so here is your first part of your carburetor right here. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure you keep all of these parts as clean as you can as you're doing this. I'm going to be cleaning all these parts, so I'm not taking very much care of keeping these things clean. Do not, this little plastic film on top here, do everything in your power to not get that thing off. See, mine just came off, but you're gonna have to put it right back on over top anyway. But like I said, do everything in your power to make that thing not come off. All right, your next and final part here is going to be this top part, which I believe is the same size. Yes, same size as Philip's head. If I can get it to stand up straight. Just like that, and there's 2 bolts here. And this is going to be the bottom part of our carburetor. Or at least bottom whenever it's in the engine. I don't know which one's bottom or top. They flip these things over all the time. So, now that all of this is out, make sure, organize your parts. Like I said, you're gonna hear me say that a lot. All right, you don't really need to take off your rubber gasket thingamajigger there. All right, here you have your float. So, I have a cleaning bowl right here. And I have some brake cleaner right here. You can use brake or carbon throttle body cleaner. I did not have carbon throttle body sitting around, so I'm just going to use brake. Does the same thing pretty much. You're going to want to make sure that before you do this, make sure that your bowl that you're doing this in is clean. It's going to save you a lot of heartache with getting a bunch of dirt into these carburetors. So what I did is I've sprayed a little bit of brake cleaner in there. And I have an empty, oh, that one's not empty. Where is it at? I have an empty canner in here somewhere, right here. That I pour all of my, not just brake cleaner, but sometimes old gas, you know, all that sort of good stuff in. So same thing after I'm done cleaning the carburetor, that's where all that will go. Just like that. And just dump it right on out of there, right into there. All right. Now we're just gonna set that right there. All right. Next step, get one piece at a time, okay? What you're gonna wanna do, watch your eyes whenever you're doing this. In fact, I probably should be wearing glasses, but I'm not. Just watch your eyes. This will very much hurt your eyes. You're gonna wanna spray out all this, and anytime there's a hole like right here, you're gonna wanna go like that. Brake cleaner in there and make sure it's coming out nice. And do the opposite way as well. Just like that. It does help a lot to have one of these Shaws. If you don't, that's okay too. But like I said, it does help quite a bit. And all you're gonna do for this one is just simple little spray like that. You're done. You're always gonna want to face these parts, like the part that's gonna kind of go inside the carburetor. That part you're always gonna want to be facing up whenever you put these down, even if your rag is clean. There's tiniest bits of dirt that will get in here and clog your carb, your whole carb. So here's the part that you have to be careful about: taking off your float. This is always a pain in the butt to put back on, but this is where all the dirt goes. So what you have to do is you can take that screw out about halfway. All right, you want to be careful. You can lose this rod super easily. All right, does not look like I have very much dirt in there, but I'm going to clean it out anyway, just because we're feeling fancy today. All right, now you're going to take out your needle there. You don't want to spray through there. Where's that coming from? Okay, yeah, so that was one of our problems. That was clogged right there. So it should be pretty unclogged there. And now we're gonna tip it over on this side and spray it right back in that hole it just came out of, and it should come out there. Nope, wrong hole. Let's see which one it was here. It's gonna be one of these. Let's see, where's that? It's right there. It's probably going to be. No, it's not that one. Nope. Anywho, one of these. Yeah, okay, there it is. It's just that hole right there. All right, just like that. All right. Now you're gonna want to make sure you spray through. Like you can see, there's a lot of dirt in that part of it there. Spray all that out as much as you can. You can see that this one was pretty clogged. Let's see if I can get the clog out there. Okay, pretty unclogged now. I think we're good there. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to reassemble our float assembly after we give this one more good spray right there. That's where all of our dirt collects, is right in that little pocket there. All right, now, first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna take your needle right here. Put the pointy side down, okay? Next thing, take your spring. Put it in there just like that. The last thing is going to be your actual float. And what you're gonna wanna do for that is you're going to want to, I forget which way this went. I think it went like that. You're gonna wanna hook it, keep that spring upright. You're gonna wanna hook it into your needle there, float needle. Okay, and then you're gonna have to put that spring underneath it and get it in that little notch, just kind of like that. All right, does not have to be perfect. Well, actually I take that back, yes it does. But if it's kind of just bouncing around in there, don't worry, because once you tighten back down that screw, it will hold it all in there. So for right now, it doesn't have to be exact, but I'm gonna try it one more time. This is what I'm saying. This is very hard to get in, but you kind of see how it goes. So I'm gonna try this one more time, and if I still don't get it in, then I'm gonna pause the video and then. My hands are so shaky for this. All right, you know what? I'm gonna pause the video until I get it in. All right, guys, now that we've got it in there, I'm just gonna move this over here. That way y'all can see it a little bit better. Now what you're gonna have to do, this is the tricky part, because once you get it in there, you don't wanna mess it up, but you do have to kind of wiggle it down, okay? Once you push it down, you can start tightening the screw down. This is your screw that holds it all in place, okay? And right about at that point is whenever you can let go of it. You're gonna wanna tighten this thing down all the way, just like that. Don't strip it though. You will get metal shavings in there, and that will also clog some of your holes. Just like that. All right. Now that we've got that, now we can start reassembling this thing. So, first thing we're gonna put on here is, which side should we start with? We're gonna start with this side. First thing that we're gonna put on is this bad boy here, but before we do that, we have to put on our gasket. And you remember how I said try to make sure this thing, that little, plastic, flimsy plastic piece, this one, does not come off, because this is a pain in the butt to get back on, that's why. So, and you have to line up all of the holes perfectly, which also sucks for putting this thing back on. So, you're just gonna wanna line up that one middle hole here, and you're gonna wanna, all of these outside holes do go to something or another. So you're gonna have to line up all of those as well. So likely fuel or air holes in there. Just like that. I don't know if y'all can see this. I'm just being very careful putting this back together because I'm trying not to screw it up any. All right, now I'll show you all this next part here once I get the screw kind of going in there. All right, just like that. Now we're gonna screw this in. Hold it on both sides just like that. That way this thing, because this part is one screw, so just that way this thing kind of does not move around, because it will. just gonna have to put extra pressure right there whenever you start tightening this thing. Just like that. By the way, this is your idle screw right here, just in case you wanted to know. And your jets are gonna be right here. This is all your high and low speed adjustments. Alright, I'm gonna blow this out one more time before I put it in there. Just like that. Make sure you try to dump as much of this out as you can. If you don't, it's okay. But just, like I said, just try to get, 90% of it or so. Just like that. This is going to be one hole here that is showing. Oh, here's one I didn't notice. This hole is clogged with fuel line. So we're going to try to blow out and see if that unclogs it. That might not be the hole, but I'm just going to try to blow in now. Alright, so that's not what we're going to do. What we're actually going to do, we're going to take a small screwdriver. If any of your holes are clogged and are large enough for this, do this. I'm going to take a small screwdriver and push it in there. Okay. You don't want to get anything in your car, but at the same time, you don't want to leave that in there. That will clog all of your fuel, and that will get more stuff that you do not want to get in your car. That will get all of that in there. So, you don't want to do that. So now that it's loose enough that I should be able to blow this thing out, let's do it. It's one of these holes here that goes to that. Nope, not that one. Maybe this one right here. There it is. Alright, now that that's out, good thing we caught that before we put this thing back on. Now that that's out, I'm going to try to get this in the camera because I haven't got the whole rest of it in the camera. You can take these two screws, just like that, screw them back in, just like that there. Alright, and then I'm going to set this bowl aside while I screw in the last final couple screws here. Just like that, and you're going to want to not tighten it down all the way, just enough to hold it. You want to come over here and tighten this one just enough to hold it, and then you're going to want to go back over there and tighten everything down all the way. Now I'm actually going to get it bigger because I feel like I'm stripping these things. Nope. We are going to get this one right here. Ain't no stripping it with this one, I can tell you how much. Alright, there we go. Now our carb is fully reassembled, alright? So now, like I said, I'm going to put this down right here for a second. Would you take my little, I think this is like a old, dirt bike washing, whatever you want to call it, dirt bike washing formula spray stuff that I had. I'm just taking this can because this had chemicals in it, so I'm pretty sure it can hold some brake cleaner or whatnot. So I'm just going to take that and put it in there. Alright, so now, here comes our chainsaw. Alright, so our next thing that we're going to do is we are going to take off this side panel right here, which is just a couple of, make sure you put that up there, I forgot to do that. A couple of star head, all of these pretty much here are going to be, star head bolts and screws. So, it's going to take out there's 4 screws here. There's one, let's see if I can screw this thing up. One here, one here, one here, and one here. I'm going to take all of those out. Alright, and as you can see, the primer bulb a little bit better now. That is busted. So, we'll show you how to take that in and out too. Last one right here. Just like that. And like I said, since this thing's been sitting, you can hear a little pop whenever you do it. Just because it's been sitting for so long at that same tension. Alright, here's your starter. Now, I am going to say this thing was seizing up quite a bit. So if that's the case, what you're going to want to do is take some WD-40. At least that's what I like to use. It doesn't have to be WD-40, but just something that'll grease it up. And this one, this can of it in particular is just not spraying. So I just kind of have to hold it like that, and then it finally drips down. So just kind of spray a little bit of that in there, just like that. All right. it's like I said, this thing is not spraying. See how it's kind of just dripping and blowing bubbles. So it has enough in it. It's almost out, but still. All right, now you're just gonna pull this a couple times, just like that. All right, and that should get it pretty good. All right, now I'm gonna set that right there. And all right, to replace your primer bulb, here's what you're gonna do. A couple of Phillips head screws here. Gonna take those out. Oh, big ones. All right, we're gonna move up to the big boy here. Just like that. And these are very long screws for what they're used for, but you know, I guess that's what the factory needed whenever they did this. And this Poulan chainsaw is built very differently than like the Poulan Pros. Every, you know, all of the Poulans are kind of built, you know, they have the same layout, but it's kind of, everything looks a lot different. All right, so this one has how many? Yes, okay, so it has 2 portholes. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull off one porthole right here. All right, just like that. All right, now what you're gonna do is I have an extra fuel bulb somewhere in here laying around that I'm just going to take out real quick right here. Let me grab it real quick out of this bag. Right here. Oops. Right here. And what you're gonna do is that thing is gonna go right back in there. All right, and look, this is the way I can remember which fuel lines went where. It's the one that looks like it's been sitting on there. All right, so which one is that gonna be? Okay, so you're smaller. Okay, so that's another thing you have to watch out for with this too. Since this one's brand new from the factory, you can see there's kind of leftover plastic residue that makes this hole a lot smaller than it should be on this side. You can see that both of these holes are the same size here, but they're not here. I'm just gonna take a small little screwdriver and just kind of twist it around in there a little bit. Should clear it out pretty well. That's good enough. All right, so now we're going to take that and we're going to take our other fuel line that busted off. We're gonna grab some of the right size fuel line, which let's check with the carburetor, and here's how you do that as well. Let's see, which one was it? Okay, I believe it was this one right here. What you gotta do, push it on there. Feels about the right size, but really the way to check it, if you still have leftover fuel line, is the inside diameter. That's all that really matters, and that is the exact same, if you can see there. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide that on there just like that. And we're going to tip this thing back up right quick, just to see how long we need to cut this thing. All right, so I believe, let's see which way it goes on. Okay, I think it goes on like that, I believe. Yes, yeah. Okay, so it goes on like that, which means it's gonna have to come under here, just like that. I'm gonna leave plenty of slack here, and I'm gonna cut you right there. That should be way more than enough fuel line. But I always like to cut a little bit extra because, yeah, you can always cut off, you know, you can always cut off more if it's too long, because you can never get more than you'd have to redo the whole thing if it was too short. So, now that we have that, we'll take it off of this carburetor. So I was a little bit wrong on this, all right? So this one is your drainage fuel line for your carburetor. So that one should not have been hooked up to the, these fuel lines were hooked up wrong in the first place. So what you're actually going to do, and I may replace this fuel line just because it is kind of in not the greatest shape here. But I'm gonna try my best not to, because the fuel filter on the end of it is in pretty good shape and I don't want to have to tinker with it. All right, so actually this fuel line is doing, no it's not. All right, so yeah, so we are gonna have to replace this. So to do that, you're gonna have to tip it back over on the side here. You're gonna have to push it down as far as you can in here and kind of try to grab that just like that with your finger or some pliers or whatever you want to use. All right, so we'll grab that, pull it out, and you can see fuel filter's in pretty good shape. It's not actually that bad looking. All right, so now just gonna, maybe I should pull it out from the tank. Let's see if that works a little bit better, if I can grab a hold of it here. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. So now you're gonna just pull down from inside the tank until you get your fuel line fully out. Now we're gonna take our fuel line that we thought went there earlier, Gonna put that down in that hole, and to do that, you're gonna want to cut it right here at an angle. And a tip that I've gotten from some people is cutting it at an angle. And actually, maybe hang on, let me get this thing cut first, just like that. All right, pretty good angle like that, right? Put some WD-40 on the tip. Ain't gonna hurt nothing. Okay, should make it a little easier to slide in there. Alright guys, so I did end up having to replace all of my fuel lines, and now I've got my primer bulb in there, and I'm testing it, and it is working just great right now. Our bulb is working just fine. Alright, we have fuel, so that's how you test it, and you might have saw that some fuel went in there, right? That means our fuel line is working good here. Alright, so now we are pretty much ready to put our carb back on. So as you can see, this part was up. Or this part is up whenever you should be up whenever you put it in there, whereas it was not before. So now I have my throttle hooked up, and what I'm actually gonna do before I put this thing on, I'm gonna put this on right off. That is our drain. Our drain line that basically drains it right back into the fuel tank. All right, so that is that's that, which this thing is surprisingly not moving around very well. This line is in pretty good shape. That one at least is. Okay, so now you just have to wiggle this thing back on, because this thing is not like to smoothly go on there either way. At least mine doesn't. Oh, I see. Yeah, I forgot I have to pull the throttle on. There we go. Alright, so now that's how your throttle should be functioning. If that is functioning all good, all you have to do is hook this back up. Alright. And now what you're going to have to do, because like I said, I always cut mine a little bit long, you're just going to kind of have to tuck it in there. Just like that, all right? You're going to want to make sure that that is functioning correctly, okay? That your choke is working, which mine, in fact, is. All right, so now I'm also going to want to put this little rubber boot on, which I probably should have done before I put this thing on. But my beautiful brain forgot. So don't really know why that's there, so don't ask me why, because I don't know. So it only goes one way on here though, so make sure you put it the one way it goes, just like that. All right guys, so here we are. We have plenty of gas in this thing. First thing, real quick, let me grab some starter fluid, and what you're gonna want to do. Not going to need to spray very much, but for this particular chainsaw, there's only one hole, but you're normally going to want to spray it in the throttle hole, which is going to be the hole where whenever you squeeze the gas, it opens up that hole. And I'm just going to spray just like that. You don't need much at all, okay? You're going to turn your switch on. And I forget how many times this thing says to prime it, so I will be right back, because I'm going to have to check that. I don't want to over or under prime this thing. Right here. Also, normally, if you need to find the starting instructions, it's going to be on your little top cover here, which this one says 6 times. So I've already done it 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Come on, go in there. There we are. All right. I switch this thing on, all right, and it says to choke it and pull it how many times? All right, so it says, okay, so now you need to pull it 6 times, it says. So I'm gonna, no gas, because otherwise my choke goes back in, you see that? So I'm just gonna no gas for this, and I'm gonna make sure I'd say, 80% of the time, you wouldn't be surprised by how many times you can flood this thing by just forgetting to turn your on-off switch on. All right, so we're gonna go, oops, dang, hang on. What I may have to do is I have another one of these starter things, so. Dang. There we go. So now you're gonna move it to half choke, all right? Okay, so now we are running, all right? So now what we gotta do is we're gonna turn this thing there, all right? We're gonna turn this thing on and go just like this. All right, so I'm gonna put my foot on the gas actually. Toad my choke back out. So anyway, we are running. Now you just kind of have to fine tune this thing until it runs good, which I'm gonna be working on right now. Because you can hear this idle is way too high. Yeah, that's what you're gonna have to do. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys.